It's literally the healthiest cheese in the world. Like, it's literally healthier than a Costco hot dog. And there's a reason why the Sardinians eat so much of it. Well, the reason they probably eat so much of it is because it's just there and it's accessible. But it's interesting because Sardinia has the largest life expectancy, or one of the longest life expectancies that's out there. And of all the blue zones, they were the first to be dubbed a blue zone because it was so glaringly obvious that they had such a high concentration of centenarians. So I've done videos picking apart like different parts of their life, like what is different. They laugh a lot, they've got that going for them. They drink a specific kind of wine, they have a specific kind of oil they consume. They consume 40% carbohydrates compared to other Mediterranean countries consuming 60%. But one thing that really stood out was the consumption of Pecorino Romano, a specific aged cheese that's from sheep milk. Now that you've learned what the cheese is, you're gonna click off the video, but I think that you should learn how it actually works and what's unique about it, because you can get it here in the States. It's readily available. And after today's video, I put a link down below for 10% off Timeline. Timeline is a unique form of urolithin A. So it's called MitoPure. Urolithin A is something that triggers or potentially stimulates mitophagy. So if you've heard of autophagy before, mitophagy is autophagy of the mitochondria. So it helps the mitochondria essentially reorganize, kind of recycle. And as we get older, this is hugely important for overall longevity. Being able to have our mitochondria become stronger and resilient and sort of restructured. And urolithin A comes from things like pomegranates, but you can't just eat a pomegranate and get the effect, because only a small percentage of people actually convert the pomegranate into the active form of urolithin A. We don't all synthesize it the same way. MitoPure is a unique technology that allows urolithin A to be utilized by everybody. So that link down below is for 10% off. Big thank you to Timeline for the support on this channel. They've been a sponsor for a number of years, and a lot of people have had a lot of huge success with urolithin A. So that link, top line of the description underneath this video. So Pecorino Romano is a sheep cheese. Now, any kind of pecorino would work, but Pecorino Romano usually tastes the best. First of all, any aged cheese is going to be best, right? Any aged cheese is good. And the Mediterranean regions consume a lot of these aged cheeses. Okay, yeah, they're more antimicrobial, they're easier to digest, they're lower lactose levels. People that are lactose intolerant a lot of times can even handle it. Okay, typically going to be more of an A2 protein, which is a higher quality protein that's less likely to be inflammatory for many people or people with sensitivities. But the CLA, conjugated linoleic acid, this has been used as a supplement because it's so effective. CLA has literature behind it, conjugated linoleic acid, for fat loss, for potentially muscle building. There's a number of different benefits, particularly with fatty acid oxidation and reducing inflammation. Pecorino Romano, or sheep cheese in general, 3 to 5 times the amount of CLA than any other cow cheese that's out there. And I'm not just blowing smoke when I say the Sardinians eat a lot of this stuff. This is a staple for them. It's in their diet almost every day. And if you ask people that have lived in Sardinia, it's been there. It's been in their diet. But there's a lot of other interesting stuff, ranging from fatty liver, from fatty acid oxidation, the brain. We're going to talk about it all. It's very interesting. So there was a study published in Foods that took a look at mice in this case, and they fed them pecorino. They wanted to look at a number of different things. Now I'm going to keep it very simple so we're not going off into la-la land. So first off, when they looked at the liver level, there were decreases in genes that were called SREB1 and ACACA. Okay, these are genes that are associated with turning carbohydrates into fat. So these genes got turned down, which means that there's less risk of converting carbohydrates into fat at the liver level. Have you heard of a fatty liver before? It's not a good thing. Fatty liver is oftentimes a proxy for your overall visceral fat, which means you have more fat underneath the regular subcutaneous fat, and it's very inflammatory, and it's usually linked with metabolic disease. So lower levels of liver fat usually linked to less metabolic distress, right? Longer lifespan. So this is very interesting. So you have this in conjunction with a lower carbohydrate diet like the Sardinians kind of eat, not low, but lower than the rest. It's pretty awesome. Okay, then we look at a muscle level. At a muscle level, there are increases in PLA3 genes and increases in uncoupling proteins. What this simply means, you have increases in the genes that are associated with fat oxidation, fat burning in the muscle. It doesn't mean that if you go eat a block of Pecorino Romano, you're gonna be ripped. Okay, calories still matter, these things still matter. But how we influence genes in our body is becoming very important, especially for longevity discussions. So what this is essentially allowing your body to do is utilize fats more effectively in the mitochondria at a muscle level, which means that your cells become less stressed because they can use a fuel source that is less stressful and less oxidative. So if you're only oxidizing carbs all the time and not very good at utilizing fats, that can be pretty damaging as far as like reactive oxygen species oxidative stress. The increase in uncoupling proteins leads to more calories being used as like heat, right? So when you consume something, it's getting dissipated as heat versus storage. Again, you eat a block of cheese, come on, be real here. It's a dosing thing. Adding this Pecorino cheese as a lifestyle thing. It's the cheese that you go to. Rather than opting for a cheap shredded mozzarella, go for the Pecorino. It's incremental. And then as far as the brain is concerned, there's a lot of evidence suggesting that Pecorino is associated with a reduction in genes that would improve staving off neurodegenerative conditions or reducing inflammation within the brain. Let's talk about some simple ways that you can kind of get these benefits in really easily. If you're gonna consume Pecorino Romano, I would recommend having it earlier on in the day. It's a cheese that is very satiating. You can certainly have it whenever, but I'm a big fan of consolidating calories towards the morning. So if you're gonna add cheese in, remember it's calorically dense. It tastes really, really good in eggs. So you might as well mix it into your eggs and try to live that sort of Sardinian diet. While we're already here, like what do the Sardinians typically eat? They're eating a lot of lean meat. They're eating, of course, their eggs. They're eating a fair bit of veggies and fruit. They're eating about 40% carbohydrates compared to 60% carbohydrates, like we already talked about. And they're eating legumes, they're eating grains, they're probably eating, a healthier source of grains. They're eating anything ranging from potatoes, sometimes sweet potatoes, but most of the carbs that they're getting from are still gonna be like legumes and things like that. Their protein intake is a little bit higher than other Mediterranean regions. Now, it's still the same kind of Mediterranean proteins though. We're still talking fish, we're talking calamari, fruta de mare, which is going to be different forms of like fish and shellfish and whatnot. And the other meats they're going to consume are going to be like lean fish, lean chicken, turkey, the occasional lean meat, and things like that. And a lot of their meats are also going to be aged as well. So as always, keep it locked in here on my channel. See you tomorrow.